Very good.
Yes.
All right, we'll call a meeting to order. Start with roll call.
Jason Ward,
Here.
Tiffany Yant, here, Kelly Bevel, Dorian Level is absent tonight, Lisa Patterson is absent tonight, and Richard Mitchie. Thank you.
All right, move on to approval of minutes. Does anybody have any corrections? It's no minutes. If not, we can do the motion to approve.
I mean, we approve the minutes as presented.
A second.
Okay, there's no discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Any comments today? All right, we've got a lot of items here, so. Get started. First one is 2024-004, requesting flashing sign at crosswalk on Sunset Boulevard. And I'll say that's your name. Eureka. And that's, I guess, we just combine that with 4.1, requesting flashing crosswalk sign in front of our plan. Or is that separate enough that when I'm talking about a separate?
I think we,
That's the crosswalk they're talking about, right?
yeah, I think we could combine them
Okay,
because my understanding is that whole area is under construction already. And I kind of feel like we should wait it out and see when the construction finishes and then address these at that point. See that end result of the crosswalk.
Well, I think you're just repaving.
There's no changes to the curbs or anything, because I saw that there's.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's some, curb ramps going in. We're not putting any build outs or anything. We're not changing the physical curb lines, but there are some new curb, ADA ramps going in. And then we are moving that mailbox there's a site obstruction complaint at this location, and coupled with our request for the push button flashing beacons, and we get a lot of requests for the push button flashers, and my recommendation is we just track this as another RRFB location request. There are no RRFB warrants or anything that you can have a technical hang your hat on. This has to be installed. So I think those are more decisions that you guys have recommended. Like the city council, like a stop sign that doesn't meet warrants to install like an always stop configuration, but we can keep logging these requests. I just think it's going to be hard for you guys to come to a decision on any specific location to actually recommend putting in push buttons. I think we just log them and they come in as requests for additional enhancements.
So how much do these push button? How much do they cost?
This one's pretty straight. I mean, we probably would want to put bulb outs here, but this would be about 100,000. I think if the consultants had to stamp the plans, but there's no curve issues. I think we talked about this. There's no accident history here. Those are kind of factors that you would have in prioritizing the push button flashers. So, I don't see any technical reasons to add them, although they are requested at school zones a lot. So that another safe routes to school lane, Joy. I don't know if they fund things like that, but it definitely would be kind of a lower priority.
There definitely has to be a warrant. Typically, as far as in order to get some type of grant funding.
Sherwood Boulevard already has kind of a flashers there. They're older. I don't see how much different this is than that. If that has it, this has it, but how does it get installed?
The question I guess I have too, as far as the request, it says flashing sign. Is it an RFP they're asking?
Yeah,
Because
you're
I've seen.
Making a big assumption. I think the flashing crosswalk that.
I've seen somewhere there, the school signs that are like flashing, just more awareness kind of thing, right, or even the the crossing itself is an outline with lights. So I don't know exactly.
I'm making a pretty big assumption. I think I'm right on it. We have had requests for the flashing stop signs also in different areas. And we could, for the flashing stop signs, yeah, but we could clarify this is a push button system. Like,
These requests, when you read the actual form, say flashing lights, they don't say push buttons. So yeah, that's a good thing to pick up on, I think.
I mean,
Yeah.
because when you're starting to talk about a RFP, that's
yeah.
like big money.
Yeah.
And, similar to what we submitted a grant for on Sunset and Trimble. That crossing, that's a $300,000 cost. So
Does this crosswalk have crossing guards otherwise?
During school hours,
Yeah.
and pick up so probably rank a certain, like the SB update will take these locations and at least provide a ranking of all the locations we've received these requests, and then we probably prioritize them on accidents and then come up with a matrix and give a first stab at like a list of priorities, but still don't know how we would get them funded or anything like that.
right, but if it's just flashing signs,
Oh, yeah, you guys can make a recommendation for that. I've already keep assuming I'm.
how much are those, Jason?
Flashing sign?
Yeah.
I've not ever bought one because I'm not really, a fan of them if they don't have the illumination within the sign itself, because then it becomes somewhat of a distraction at night, like they have a 25-mile-per-hour sign on Glad Hill. It flashes, but you can't see the speed aspect of it. So if it flashes, I would like the whole sign to kind of illuminate, so you see like the sign at night, but there's no real standards. I think these just migrated into the MUTCD with the last update. I don't know, Jason, if you know, the flashing stop signs, I think made their way into the last MUTCD, but that's about it for flashing. They're more of a distraction. I think but that's what we would want to do, either push button flashing beacons, and that's pretty much all there is. There's not a whole lot of, you can do pedestrian signals, which I also am not a fan of, but it's like to go from regular enhancements, that's just the signs and arrows down and bars, to push button RRFB, and then all the way to a signal. Those are kind of your best options. Otherwise, it's kind of a weird pedestrian hybrid beacon, all these things that you don't want to put in.
So I think I might be taking a lot of assumptions here, but if someone was walking to go into town, go shopping or something, they would go up to the intersection at Main Street and Lad and cross over. The reason this gets used is for school, during school hours. During school hours, and sports, which is after school hours, that's a good call. But more times not, there's crossing guards during the busy pedestrian traffic time. It's a 25-mile-an-hour zone, or 20-mile-an-hour zone, sorry, until after school ends. My personal experience is it doesn't seem like this during the school hours is I'm not sure how many speed violations we get, but it doesn't seem like people zip through this area. So I'm not sure how important it would be. You're the right person to answer that.
There's people fly through there.
Yeah, during school hours.
I write so many tickets that they're on.
Oh, really? Personal experience, I know.
Yes.
Like on the weekends and after school hours, there's a lot of kids like from the neighborhoods over there that want to cross the street to go play like on the playground. And I mean, even adults too, I've seen them have a hard time being able to cross the street just because it's so wide right there that you don't really necessarily see people waiting on the sides, and people are really hesitant to cross the street because people do go so fast.
We'll put the bulb out, so that's where we put the ramps and extend them now to all travel lane. That's definitely gonna get into the TSP, but again, I don't know where it's more of an unfunded improvement. This makes sense. I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't. I get, that might be another location in here by St. Charles might get more usage if we did put the push button system in, so I'm not writing it off. I'm not saying it's not worthy of having in our database, but it's just, you have to prioritize them, St. Charles Way might be better too.
I want to clarify, the speeding violations I see are not during drop off and pickup times, because it's just too congested for anybody to go faster than 10 miles an hour.
Yeah.
The speeding violations occur after drop off
At
Yes, we
11
did.
or something.
Yeah, between like the 8:30 and 1:30 time, that's when most people come speeding through there. My experience of patrolling here, the biggest complaint, at least from the crossing guards, is most people just don't think crossing guards have any legal authority to stop traffic, so people don't want to stop for the crossing guards. That's the biggest complaint I've personally heard there.
I think a single, I mean, Jason, and he's a civil engineer too, so I like to get his opinion as well. But a consolidated single location where down the road in the TSP or CIP plan, you channel folks to a combined location where you have a singular push button system might work, but it might not be this location because we have kind of three options here. And I think that would be the best overall route or way to go. And then in apparent crosswalks, you put the barricades up and close those, but definitely it's worth keeping the dots. I think even the one that had a 4.1 from the way I read it is they're talking another location right here, maybe nearby. So maybe we just drop in 2 dots into the GIS system and that's how we track it. And could have like 30 locations right now where people have requested push button systems that aren't funded, but that the list is that long, we should definitely be talking to folks about when we're going to start doing some of them.
Seems like Sunset Boulevard, it's, to use the word problematic, get a lot of, citizen comment on Sunset Boulevard, one way or another.
There's a lot of cars going on every day.
And I mean, it's a beautiful boulevard and, people, I think, forget that it is in a city with the trees and, you know, it's beautiful. You kind of think you're out in the country and you're doing country speeds.
You mentioned earlier, you said a mailbox is being moved. Is that the one that was addressed in the Oakland line?
It was like,
I don't know exactly what number it was in. It was mentioned of, yeah, and we wanted to go out and just move it, but we had to get, you have to talk to the postmaster before you cut, even nudge it. Oh, that's it. You have to follow the rules on that one. We're gonna move that about 30, 40 feet away.
That's
The crosswalk's already moved a bit closer to it, so it looks like we actually moved the crosswalk closer to the mailboxes, but we're moving the mailboxes 40 feet away. I'm pretty sure on the other side of the crosswalk, but
going this direction.
yeah.
Okay. I think that complaint was coming from people pulling out of the Myriga strip, correct? And they were complaining that this was obstruction for.
Suggestions.
We'll move it to the other side too.
And I do believe that's the one in the picture here on the request for. I think that, I agree with what you say, we should drop a couple dots in the GIS system. If we were to focus on a crosswalk, I think it would be this one, just because it's so heavily trafficked by children, that's the one to make safer. The idea of a flashing light, you said that they aren't necessarily ideal because you can't see them at nighttime. If most of the usage is during the day and on weekends for sports and stuff, a solar powered flashing light that times out by 10 p.m. isn't a big deal, I would think. So that's kind of what I would lean towards. But maybe we should explore if we can get grants first, and we don't need to rush to make a decision on it. Right?
And we'll have a bigger toolbox too with the TSP update of those sorts of applications. I've not worked with flashing crosswalk signs or alternate, enhancements, but I do know that they are approved in METCD for the first time. So we were, I guess, installing them experimentally for a couple of years.
What's METC?
The manual on uniform traffic control devices. Yeah.
I think it's a pretty good candidate, whether it's there or somewhere along the frontage of the school for a enhanced crossing with RFP some point in the future. I think though that for it to be really effective, that it should come, like Jason was saying, with bulb out curb extensions that take up the space of where parking was. Or where the parking area is, you can't park there anyways, but it takes that space, push the pedestrian out closer to the travel lane, makes them more visible. And it also shortens the crossing distance. And, it might be tough to make it work because of the side street there, but an island. Would also, and it further enhance the safety there, but that's a big project. I mean, I did. One really similar in Hillsborough that's getting constructed right now, and it was almost $300,000, so. It's definitely put it in the TSP as a recommendation and. Try to get it funded someday kind of thing, I think. But I think we should respond to the people. That, you know, there's some enhancements being happened now, and the mailbox is being relocated and. You know, and then. Maybe we could. Show our support for some sort of enhanced crossing in the future, if the budget allows. Without being too specific about what that is.
I made, just comment, I'll put in 3 dots. We've also gotten comments on the St. Charles location too, because we have a lot of folks coming from that neighborhood to the west. That does it goes down into I forget which neighborhood it is, but it's back behind Marika, and that's where they walk out, yeah, Eucalyptus. So we've gotten requests, not through the traffic safety committee, but just comments of, hey, we need and there is kind of a sight distance issue if you go west on Sunset too. And so what we'll do is we'll look it up, one loop dot there, one with this Marika location, and then we've gotten other requests to have one further up to the east between Main Street, which is a little too close to have 2 of them. And we'll group them together, look at them together, and then kind of probably do a study with the crosswalk project whenever we do that. And then they pick one location, put a bunch of flashers in and make sure put the bulb outs in, pick a location that's not sandwiched. The other issue here is it's 2 school driveways between on the north side of, if we zoom in where we were, right on the Marika. See, the school's got a turnaround driveway. And then their main driveway over there in between these 2. And we are moving the crosswalk. I believe we're moving it west versus where it's at now. But that might not be the ideal location in this cross slope with the 2%. So we'll put in 3 dots. I don't know if you guys need a motion for 3 dots or the GIS, but that's what we'll do.
I think we should make a motion that at least support something, but acknowledge that that's beyond our budget. But whatever you guys think.
So that you can pass it on to the city council.
In the past, when we've done stuff like this, we've asked for it to be added to the CIP. But, you know, probably potentially a 5-year plus timeframe, and then that kind of gives them the ability to work it in.
Tony, we're starting a TSP update project too, where we'll take all the locations where we've had requests for additional enhancements, push buttons. And then it's been done many times before for cities where they take the crash history and they develop a matrix, and then they have a list of priorities that then they can present maybe in a year from now. That project will be far enough along where we could bring a draft list and kind of look at those locations and where they're at. And this definitely is going to be on the list and probably a recommendation. Yeah. We can probably, I imagine we can pick a spot too that is flat. Maybe our senior civil engineer has an idea of where it's flatter. We can put a combined crosswalk. That works for also the Eucalyptus. There's a lot of background traffic coming out of that Eucalyptus location after school's out. So that's something to consider with the speeds, because that's when people are driving fast. So that may be a reason to select a location further to the west. Is school safe? We don't have enough money for one location, put it in over closer to Eucalyptus, but still close enough to be used by the school. And you guys sign off on it too. So a lot more to be done here.
So I'll go ahead and move that we tag these multiple locations in the TSP system, and we do outreach to the citizens who brought the concerns forward and let them know that we are aware of these and it's part of a long-term plan. And let them know about updates in the meantime, such as the mailbox being moved. I missed anything? Is that good? All right.
A second.
I like it. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Any opposed? We'll make one motion for two items. That work for you? Very good. All right, we'll move on to 24-005, request to extend sidewalks south of ED along Elbert, requesting right turn only at Hanley due to site distance concerns turning left.
So before we get into the question, I know that there's a lot of planning about Sherwood West and talking about maybe a roundabout or relocating the ED Elbert intersection. But is this stretch where the sidewalks being requested, is that something that's gonna get ripped up and changed in the next 10 years?
Potentially, I mean, if the analysis shows that there's an environmental balance where relocating the road and, maybe odds in favor of not happening, who knows, but there's not a lot of certainty here, but what's the answer we can provide to this person who's, just don't have sidewalks for, I don't know if that's an adequate answer. I mean,
Right, because Sherwood West currently is still being evaluated at Metro,
Yeah.
right? And they're gonna make a decision by, the end of the year. As far as a recommendation, and then our council has to agree to it. But ideally, in regards to construction, as far as true physical construction, as far as, development happening, we're looking at least 5 years, and it's gonna be along Elbert where there's existing development and infrastructure.
but all of it, it's not gonna disappear. There'll be a road here, no matter what. And the big answer is there's a big road improvements project in the county's TSP and the city's TSP to, continue this fully improved 4 or 5 lane road with medians and landscape strips and sidewalks similar to what's at the roundabout, but I don't think there's funding for that for like 10 years or so, 5 years. So there's no, without Sherwood West, I mean, that might help fund it, but
Right.
still, it's not happening now and it's not resolving.
So I know that there is gonna be a study, a joint effort study between Washington County and the city in regards to Eden Road, for sure. And it's gonna be tied to the Elbert relocation possibility as far as the 2 roundabouts. So there's gonna be more traffic analysis that's related to those particular roadways. So I'm just reading this request, is left turn lanes, right, along Elbert between Edie and Hanley, is that what I'm hearing?
No, this is sidewalk south of Edie Road along Elbert, which that's an improvements project. There's no sidewalks planned there. That's pretty obvious that there's no sidewalks there. It's a county road, but then there's this next part that requesting a right turn only at Hanley due to site distance concerns. Turning left, which we've all, I mean, if you ever turn from there, it's kind of, apprehensive to make the turn. We have reduced the speeds to 35, so my gut says we're right at the limits where the site distance works. So we wouldn't be able to justify a right turn right out. That's a county call too. But
Well, I think I drive Elbert daily, and I think the issue is when one person is waiting to turn left. Traffic is backed up to get into the high school, they're now holding up 20 cars behind them on Hanley. So a right turn might, not just for visual sight, but it also might help kind of clear the congestion in that area during the time. Is it possible to put a right turn only between these hours type of a sign? During school start times and end times? Is that
Hanley,
are we talking about the same thing where you'd be coming westbound on Hanley? And this person saying he would like, basically, it sounds like a right turn, right out condition and eliminate the left out. If you're, because that is, I mean, I've dropped my kids off there. Yeah,
Get rid of the left.
get rid of the left is what they're requesting for this. Which I think we can look at the site distance and respond to that and say it meets site distance for the speed, posted speed, look at it for 35, and that would at least provide a technical response back to the, still a county road though, so that would be the county would have to do that.
County, so why is it
Yeah.
even, why is it our responsibility?
I put 30 here, I don't know, that's your guys' call. It's,
Is this stretch of Elbert all county as well? Elbert's County and Hanover
yeah,
County?
but I'm not sure about this exact sidewalk here. It's gonna be city and county. I mean, we're in it. It's our road, and so it's a kind of a joint.
Handley is
It's their call.
cities. Isn't Handley the cities?
Yeah,
Hamlin's the city, but Elbert is.
but the restriction would be right in, right out on, it'd have to be the county would be the ones approving.
They would approve that because we're changing how we enter their
We could
road.
request it.
Okay.
It's like pretty restricted for a neighborhood that big.
I don't know if this would go with,
All those things only go right out there.
and Ty's right.
I could see in support during hours because I think the concern is school times.
And that gets to the fancier signs that I'm not used to doing where they're, intermediate time periods and we will have two traffic engineers, consultants that can kind of help us out with these hard questions of, interim signage. This is, but I'm interested to find out if the new speed with 35 works. Or just technically.
And I can't remember, Swanstrom has no intention of ever opening back up, right?
Where's that?
It's the next.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we flip-flopped, I don't know how many years ago, was it 10 years ago when they closed that?
Barricaded off here. so-
Yeah.
As far as I know, there's no,
Yeah, I mean, what
Or the other.
county, if you don't have, they won't grant access unless.
yeah, you have to horse trade, it's like the railroad.
Unless
for
if it's
county roads.
absolutely mandatory, because that's an arterial. And the less access points, the better.
So I like to jump in here and try to organize this a little bit. There's actually there's several issues in this one request, and I think we should break them up here and talk about them. So the first one is to extend the sidewalk that ends at Hanley and connect this to the sidewalk at Edie along Elbert, which we talked about already, and I think understand that that's just a long-term thing that's gonna happen at some point in the future, but there's not much we can do about that now. You guys agree with
I
that?
agree.
Okay, so the next one is school zone for the high school should start at Hanley heading south. Right now, it doesn't start until after the sidewalk at Hanley and Elbert. We haven't touched on that because I don't think it was in the heading of what this one is, but I thought we've talked about the school zone. Is it in the right spot?
Yeah, I want to be able to master the explanation, but I keep getting asked why it's the way it is. And it's the traffic signal basically pushes the school zone away from the signal because it's not necessary. It causes more confusion. Because the signal controls there's no safety issues at a traffic signal. So that's why the school zone was pushed out further. So there's not additional school zone for pedestrian crossings. I have a whole long email from the county that I could come and explain it again. It doesn't make sense to me driving it and looking at it. And so you need to provide give layman's explanation of
Okay,
a state law or something.
It's
of
where
why.
it should be, and we can explain that.
We've asked and we've had so many people ask us and, talk to Sarah Owens of the county and dig into it.
Who I've talked to as well, because when I first saw it, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense.
I think there's this,
Put the arrow on where it is right now. I'm just curious.
School zone,
The south, so south down there towards Hanley. Other end.
so,
both sides are kind of interesting.
yeah, it starts like,
Cause I know this is a big topic for a while.
I think it starts on the south. It starts south. I don't know if you can drop Google Earth in there and we could just look at it. I think it starts after the signal. So driving up to it, you would think it should start before the signal. So there's a school zone ahead sign here. Which I think the county's saying you got a traffic signal there, you've got the school zone ahead sign that's adequate, you have traffic control that's full stop control with the signal. So kids can cross safely.
what happened?
Different years, keep going, it will probably regroup to the, it's actually a bad day there.
Yeah, so now we're at the This is old.
Oh, gosh, it's old, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe if we're coming the other direction, it might, but it's after, it is kind of interesting because it starts after.
Yeah.
And then coming back, though, it doesn't start until after you leave the roundabout northbound. So really, isn't the school zone section on Elwood very small?
It's like
It is.
roundabout. It's
It's basically in between the roundabout and Haight. Which if you drive by, it seems pointless, right?
When you come out of the roundabout, the school zone starts like here-ish before you go through, because there's posted flashing 20-mile-an-hour sign. And then it ends about here-ish. So they have to do 20 miles an hour to here, and then they can speed back up to 35 approaching the intersection, which is where all the kids cross. And then it starts again somewhere
For
shortly
a different
after.
school, though, right?
Yeah,
There.
so I called Sarah with county too and asked, why is this intersection where all of the crossing occurs not included in the school zone? And her response was similar to probably what you got, that the traffic control device controls the flow of traffic, so it's not an issue. Which I disagree, because even with the traffic control device now, in my opinion, cars shouldn't be going by this intersection with kids standing on either side waiting to cross doing 35 or faster.
You couldn't even give if you radared them in that little zone, you can't give them a school zone violation technically, right? But
Well, you can only do school zone violation from here to about here, which there's nothing going on here. The only kids crossing here are kids that are just pulling across the road. There's no crosswalk there.
when the pedestrian bridge comes, it's gonna land on the other side of the road, right? It's not like they land and still run across the road.
So
I don't get them over there. It's just from a regulation or like ticketing perspective, it seems like it makes sense to try to at least push for an answer of why do they need like a city council resolution that says, please, put the school zone where you believe there's a state law conflict or something. Is there a way to get it done, or are we stuck the way it is? Because it's just interesting. So maybe there is a way to get elected officials to help us out or not, because I don't have the perfect answer for you, and I'm not comfortable, telling you that nothing can be done. This is why, without really digging into the state law surrounding the signal and the. Yeah.
Tells you that whole distance should be, school zone.
Yeah.
at least until you get past Hague, in my opinion, that all of this should be school zone. And Hague itself should be a school zone.
And that will get changed. We're gonna do a transfer of jurisdiction for aid to make that a city street this fall, and then we can go put up we can do it now too. I think we're still pushing to get that put up, but I don't think the county wanted to expend the money on swapping out signs.
Because right now, the school zones, again, are from like right here prior to the roundabout to about here in the middle of the field. And then they're also on Kruger, but they start like here and end somewhere over here. So when you drive it and you look at it, your initial reaction is this doesn't make any sense.
The other interesting thing is that when it was designed and constructed, the crosswalk signs at the intersection of Hayden are school zone crosswalk signs or crossing signs, the two people walking,
Okay,
that's
yeah,
a
yeah.
school zone sign, which is supposed to be put in school zones. Side note, not that it.
Never paid that much attention to it.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, at least want to ask the plain question of what can we do to make, if the city is adamant, we keep, by the time we answer this question 200 times, we're gonna spend the money that it would take to go swap it out. And maybe there's just we're asking the question, but not the right way, or it's
Are we, as a city, eventually taking over Elwood? Or is it always gonna remain in county?
only the county for now, but on their long-term map that the county has on their website with long-term ownership, I think it does not show Elwood on it. It shows TS Road. Oh no, but I don't know exactly. I don't want to quote the county to Cause there's a lot of things that go on to take over streets and some cities want the whole thing improved to like brand new. And that never pencils out, so it's hard to get these roads transferred unless both sides are kind of work together to make it work here. So for now, yeah, Stowe County for the next 5 to 7 years.
So can our response be to just encourage staff to work with the county to further this discussion?
I wanna give you a good answer, so. Let's talk about it at the next meeting.
Seems like it's worthy of continuing.
Yeah, it's in compliance now. It all, like I said, common sense, it doesn't make sense to us. Let's try and.
I have a high school student that I forgot to follow up. He asked me about this too, so I said I'd provide you a great answer, so I'm gonna do it anyway, so.
Okay, so the next item on.
Just a side note, and, you may want to ask the county to, do some weeding, cut down some of them. Cause it's,
That's the
That's
next.
us. Well, we've gone through it with the county a bit more. They don't maintain the Sherwood level, so we've got the city doing the roundabout stuff. School districts doing their frontage, but then there's this area north of the Elks that we're aware of along this HOA, and I still gotta dig through Bob's stuff to see what's going on there and if the city was taking care of it or if the HOA is, but yeah, we're getting some tall vegetation along this portion, but from Orchard Hills up to Hanley, we're aware of it. It's about shoulder height in some areas right now, so technically a county road, how they take care of the ditches out in the middle of nowhere, it's not very often, so we've kind of, when it gets pretty tall, you might see city crews out there, trimming it. Hopefully you don't see me out there trimming it, but if it, we get enough complaints, I'll go do it.
Curious if Elwards County Road, does that include the sidewalk or is the sidewalk the city's?
Should be the counties or the HOAs, sometimes city.
Okay,
You gotta dig through stuff. I
gotcha.
But if I were to just look at it, I'd say it's county right of way out to the back of the sidewalk.
So the concern with this person was at Hadley, particularly vegetation, can we just make a recommendation that, crews take a look and trim as necessary or work with the county to do so?
The vegetation issue, individual homeowners, like private property, like we need to.
There is a HOA, there's like 2 different HOAs there, the one to the north. They take care of the stuff, they have a landscape company. The one to the south, it was county road before it got improved. And so the county would come through and just, mow their ditches with all the rest of the stuff, so it wasn't an issue. And I don't know how the right of way acquisition went down for the county's project and I haven't gone through that right of way case file. Cause there's probably some dialogue they had between the former city engineer, county's project manager about, hey, maybe we'll take care of this for you. Or nothing was said and then we can go ask them to, the HOA to take care of their space. But there's also issues with HOAs and maintaining the boulevard corridors behind the frontage of the HOA. Like in Wilsonville, they hand these back corridors back over to the cities after HOAs do after like 5 years. Because it's not part of every front of every lot, that's just a boulevard. But we don't do that, but.
Okay, so the last one on the request was right-hand turn on Elwert. Hanley be a right turn onto Elbert, which we just discussed, and that's not really.
So I'm gonna check, I'll check the site distance for the 35 is what I want to do. And then I can report back to you whether there is any issues with the curve in the road. That was one of the reasons the speed got reduced from 45 to 35, I think, was this location was.
And even if it was, I mean, are we gonna do a project to limit left turns? You're not gonna do that by just closing that, striping that thing. You're gonna have to, that's a big project, I think.
Oh, yeah, I'm just saying for you to make a recommendation, if I were to tell you it was. There was a site distance issue, then that would help your recommendation of, let's keep it on the list as a safety issue that we can't fund versus it meets the technical site distance warrants and. It's, something that will get taken care of with the.
Okay.
Road improvements.
So it sounds like we need to keep this pending until you dig a little deeper on a couple of the school zone and, site distance.
Yeah, I mean, it's important enough to
Yeah.
dig into that too. I mean, every time I turn there, I ask that question of. It seems fine for 35 now, but before with 45, it was a little sketchy pulling out there. But then the only time I have issues now is when the folks are speeding down over at 50. You can't really judge their speed.
So, Jason, they're asking for the right turn lane. So we're looking at a pork chop, now you're discussing site distance. So tell me how the site distance impacts the right turn lane. I'm just trying.
You left turn out of there.
The reason for asking for closing the left turn lane is because sight distance is poor, is what they're saying.
Oh, I see.
You can drop the street view on the Hanley leg and look up, look south, and you'll see the cars kind of disappear over the road.
Yeah.
If you go up there.
Too, because those
Yeah, it's hard.
cameras are like several feet.
Yeah, it just rolls over. Yeah.
So when you created this intersection, right? You guys as the engineer, so.
This one right here, I don't know, that was probably like
Or
5
whoever it was.
city engineers.
Right, whoever it was said everything looks good for a full turn, left, right.
Somebody at some point said that.
This was widened with Bob Hutch's project. I get what you're saying is. Used to be 2 lanes, just like to the north. The county's project came back and started to widen right at Hanley. This is the scenario they came up with. I hope that they check the site distance for 45.
Because closing a left turn now, that's gonna be a major improvement as far as like a pork chop. Just to make sure that people aren't crossing, right? And it's just a straight right.
I don't think we
Right,
do
we're
anything
just
here for a
taking a
while
lap.
for. That's,
So let's just say, like, what you're supposed to be doing now is you're gonna evaluate the site distance. Have some type of recommendation, with the recommendation based on that, close it.
that's, I'm hoping that, I just like to say, you know, the Spidey engineer just looks at it and says, it's gonna meet the site distance and I'll be able to report back. It meets the 35 miles per hour, you can see over the hill, you can see the other way, there's no site distance issues.
Okay.
I recommend not pursuing this and it's gonna be taken care of.
Yes, there is a site distance.
Right.
Now we need to put this as a immediate fix.
That's up to how you guys wanna rank safety things. I think if there's a minor safety issue, you just keep it on your register and you just don't have the need to fix it, I guess, or it's not a top priority, but you wanna acknowledge the. I think, an attorney.
I just also try not to create work that's just gonna result in nothing. Without looking into this, do you guys know if there's an accident history here based off left turns out of Hanley?
Not that I've taken, I've been in traffic for 5 years.
I mean, I would personally, I'd be willing to make a motion and close this one with a handful of things that I took notes on. But as far as the left turn, closing the left turn,
Can you stop right there, Chris? Go back. Which direction? To your right. You can go right. Oh, okay.
I don't think, in my personal experience of driving Hanley, I could be wrong. When you're turning left, I don't have a problem with cars coming down the hill. My visibility issue when you're trying to turn left out of here is cars coming up the hill, because right now this vegetation, if this grows high, you can't see around it to see cars coming up the hill. And that's what I've always had a problem with, because I always have to creep out, and then next thing you know, you're creeping out and potentially in the northbound lane, the car's coming down the hill.
And I think that was an issue with 45. Because we get it to 50 miles per hour and the truck would have been in the way for you to see. Now it's 35. So this is still the problem when you can't pull out. That is an issue, but I think it works for 35. And the other way is just the higher speed impact of not being able to see. But I think that still meets the sight distance issues. And I wasn't planning on doing this, so I will follow your guys' recommendation to, like the other one I was gonna do anyways. This one. There's gonna be a bigger project here and Shore West is gonna kind of steer the ship on what happens. I mean, you could have a major regional trail going across the street over to Shore West, who knows? But for the purpose of the actual request and the recommendation is clearly we can't get the sidewalks all the way up to Eden. And
Yeah, so on the different things that what I wrote down was that the sidewalk thing is a future project. It's on the books. It's gonna happen at some point. The school zone that we recommend that staff keep working that issue to see if we can get that improved.
But it is compliance meantime.
And then,
county has that.
and that the vegetation be trimmed to improve sight distance at the intersection and elsewhere along this corridor. And that I would say that the intersection was evaluated and improved at some point. And, no action on the left turn lane.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The pass with a speed 45 sight distance, I'm sure it would pass now with 35. I don't think it's really digging that much. Yeah, those are four actions. I would agree with it. Do we need to
I think we could.
change it now or
We're not closing.
keep it pending while Jason goes and
The site, it'd be interesting to hear follow-ups on the site distance, on the vegetation and the school zone stuff. But I think as far as our action items go, I think we could resolve it with a motion.
okay, I'll do the motion then. So we'll move to acknowledge the need for sidewalks, but know that that's part of a future bigger budget plan. Have tasked staff with exploring the options of extending the school zone to cover the intersection. Have city staff maintain the vegetation if it gets too big to keep it in control to improve the sight distance. And not take any action on the closing left turn lane on Hanley.
Second.
Any discussions on it? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
I have a question on school zones. How far can you, how much distance can you make on a road to include the school zone? How many feet out?
So it's, as I understood, a lot of it's guided by the school's property lines.
Yeah.
And so that's what makes this one a little unique, because the school ends right there at 8. So that's why there's all this, the issues. I think if I understand what you're saying, do we have the ability to extend it?
Right.
And that's been the biggest battle, I should say, with, I don't even know if it's ODOT or county, or I don't know who actually regulates that. Other than I just know it's governed by property lines.
So it can be any distance.
No, that's the problem. They hold you within the property lines of the schools. We just went through this with the school district down here. We had to move them because it became the district office and no longer, what was that school? So we had to move the school zone down in line with the new school, because it used to be, if you remember going down there, it used to be just prior to the school, because that's where the school property was, and then it went. Obviously, we had those two schools that extended, so you went all the way down to Third and Vine, and we actually ended up having to move it. I don't know if you were part of that, but so I wish I could speak better to what regulates it, but I just know we're bound by a lot of the school properties as far as the extension.
So it's not an easy thing to.
No. It would be nice if we had the ability, like this person suggested, down to Cambly. That would make sense. It's reasonable. Alert people, hey, you're in a school zone. It gives us as a law enforcement tool to slow people down. But, I mean, they'll hit 35 all the way up to Hayden, and then they have to slow down. And to Chris's point, I mean, you already got kids standing there crossing and moving, and it's definitely not ideal.
You know, if the school district led the application or the efforts to change the school zone, I'm sure they probably
This one over here?
the district offices.
No, it was driven by a complaint.
That one came up to us. Remember talking about, I don't know if that started anything or not, but I do remember talking about.
Yeah, and we had to move. And when I say we, somebody said he did, and the complaint was that starts where there's no school.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was a flashing crosswalk too, I think.
that was the flashing speed sign, which that's paid, but the school zone
Oh, they can do it a little. bit
sign
more.
got moved further south, closer to the.
I don't know.
You know, they had to be going, yeah.
Alright, we're gonna keep moving. 2406, and actually my question is gonna be, is it similar enough to 007, but, the first one, 006, concerns regarding speeding on Pinehurst and Sunset at evening hours, requesting flashing stop sign by Woodhaven Park.
I want to say that to 007.
It seems similar, but to be honest, I haven't looked at it in a lot of detail.
Yeah, we talked to Captain Dan about what the differences were here, but now I forget what we concluded on that, but the, one did have that section of curb they wanted painted, so that's why I think the difference. What the difference is, but I think they're referring to the same stop sign, is that what you're getting at?
Yeah,
And I don't know if we ever made any motions of, have the city engineer discuss installing something similar to what's up at Sunset and the entrance
I
to
don't
Snyder
think we
Park.
talked about this one.
Okay. That'd be fine. If you want to do that, I can ask.
Well, I guess let's talk about 006, and then if we get to 007, it's more or less maybe our response is the same.
I haven't experienced it personally, but I've heard a lot of people talking about being in an accident at that intersection. So it seems reasonable that it can use a little extra safety. This flashing stop sign on Snyder is very noticeable. I don't think that a lot of people who run that light is very noticeable.
oh, sorry, I didn't interrupt. From an enforcement perspective, the flashing sign up at Aldergrove. It doesn't do much to deter people from just blowing through that intersection on night shift. That's one of our more popular places to sit. Because we would assume that the flashing would get people's attention. Yet we sit up there and stop people all night long for people just blowing right past those things, even when they're flashing.
You probably get more violations there where it's flashing than you do at Pinehurst.
Yes.
Woodhaven, I
Oh,
bet.
yeah, I sat at this intersection multiple times over the last month primarily during peak traffic hours of a 5, 6, 7 o'clock timeframe. I witnessed any violation. You go up and sit at Aldergrove where the flashing signs are, and it's a challenge.
I know why too, because everyone's terrified that they're gonna hit a kid there. Cause I am, because I've paid close attention taking a left on Sunset to go down Pinehurst in a big truck, and my foot didn't hit the gas just one day, and these kids walked out right from this guy's under his hood, and you sometimes can't see pedestrians here, and I think people are just terrified of getting in an accident at this location versus up at Aldergrove. It's just people driving in there mostly. And so
That is a park up at Aldergrove, and like I sit in that parking lot, that's where my kids get picked up on the bus, and I see people just straight up run
Yeah.
through the stop
It's like it
sign
doesn't
at 8 o'clock in the
exist.
morning.
yeah.
I don't know, there's even like a sign, like a flashing sign that says like, there's a stop sign coming, and then the stop sign is lighting up also, and they
That's what's so
still.
interesting about it. It's like that flashing stop sign is a challenge for people to be like, oh, this must mean I can go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's opposite effect of it. That's why I'm not
It has
really
the
a fan
opposite
of those.
My take on that intersection, I live right there too, is that intersection only needs a stop sign for very short, unique periods of time of the day when that parking lot is heavily used. For the most part, there's just not that much traffic that comes down Alder Grove. You compare it to, what is that? The next one down.
Main.
Main.
Yeah, that needs to.
You know, that doesn't have a three-way stop or a four-way stop, and it functions, not the best always, but it functions. But the one at Alder Grove does have a four-way stop, and I think it's a sight distance issue, and I think it's, you know, probably the occasional ties of the park, so. The reality is, you know, and as a civil engineer, you know, my understanding of this is that if an intersection doesn't meet warrants for putting a stop sign in, and you put a stop sign in, you'll increase lack of, people won't comply with it. And my guess is if you did a traffic study from purely a traffic count perspective, that intersection probably wouldn't meet warrants for a four-way stop, but it meets warrants for other things that make it necessary to have a four-way stop. But I get, that's always what I've always thought, that's why people run that stop sign like crazy, because it's just hardly ever.
Yeah,
you
and it's
come
if they
to
don't
town.
see Alder Grove, like I guess if you don't go through there a lot, like Alder Grove's like invisible, like they don't know that there's people trying to turn off of Alder Grove. It's weird. I don't know why it's such a problem
So
at
you're
the
talking to the
intersection.
east, the next street down that way, right? Where there's no, Brittany, yeah. We've had requests for.
Yeah, Brittany's like-
Stop.
People will stop at
That's a
that.
different-
bus stop, and there's no stop
I've
sign
even
there.
done it.
They just see the white line and they just assume they have to stop. Yeah.
But that is, we're fixing that in our design manual. If it's a through movement, we're gonna do the continental, and if it stops, do a bar. Seems like that would be the way to go.
So anyways, back to Pinehurst, it sounds like it's an issue, but I'm not really sure what a solution would be other than enforcement, continued enforcement.
Based on what you're saying too, based on what we're seeing up at Alder Grove, it seems like you guys probably don't want to make a recommendation to make it not work, because if people aren't complying with the flashing stop sign, it's like, why?
Is there really drag racing?
Not that I've seen. Now, again, my opinion, because I've worked both day and evening times. There's a group of kids that live back in this neighborhood back here with Subarus with the most obnoxiously loud exhausts. And them driving at the speed limit sounds like they're driving way faster than they actually are. I've actually gone over and knocked on a lot of these kids' doors and talked to their parents about their exhaust systems on their cars. So them just driving at a normal speed sounds like speed racing. It's not. I've sat out there many times and I haven't got anybody drag racing or speed racing yet. And I'm not saying it doesn't happen. Just in all the hours I've spent on Sunset, I've never seen it as a problem. I've never made a traffic stop for it.
So, you know, to respond to that, number 3, you can just say that through enforcement, there hasn't been any indication of speed, with understanding that enhance, just that muffler sound. That typical
Yeah.
speed, you know.
Yeah, or just that the police department is aware and will continue to monitor, you know.
I think that what you just said there is pretty good for the whole thing, and that the flashing lights around the stop sign have not been shown to be effective. So our recommendation is just continued enforcement.
The other thing we can do too is tomorrow morning, the speed trail is going up on Murdoch, because we had a complaint of people speeding down Murdoch, kind of near like the Fair Oaks area. That's where it's gonna be placed. But after we're done collecting data on Murdoch, we can put the speed trailer on Sunset just to monitor, because if you put a marked patrol car out there, it's gonna draw attention, you know, the trailers, in my experience, that people,
Well, they're trying to,
the trailer doesn't really change people's natural driving behavior.
because I want to know how fast I'm going.
I like the fake flashers. that they put on
And
now.
that's the last time I put that on Oregon near Hall on the 25. the data was crazy. It's like people want to speed up to get those red and blue lights to flash. Again, it's like, it's a game. But we can put the trailer down there again after Murdoch to continue to monitor what the speed's looking like on Sunset at all hours of the day versus just whenever we're sitting up there.
All right, anyone want to attempt a motion on that one?
Got the paint.
Actually, before we do that, before we make a motion on that one, can we, looking at 007, it is, unless I'm looking at it wrong, it's the same, it's a very similar request. Can we combine these and make them,
So on the summary, there's a thing about painted curbs, but it's not on the actual request form, so I'm not sure where that.
Two forms for 007. They submitted two forms for the same location, but one said they wanted the painted curb, one said they wanted the flashing stop sign. It's on one request. I thought it'd be a little bit too confusing to just put two of them on different numbers, because it was the same requester for both.
I think we were talking to Dan, maybe motion or 6 closed out, we keep 7, just because of.
Just to continue to monitor. What's ironic is Jason pointed this out. We had a meeting last week and I've patrolled this intersection more times than I can count. And in all my times of patrolling there, I've never seen a car parked where this white car's parked, because that's usually where I park and watch the intersection. And I pointed out that I've never seen a car parked this close to the stop sign, and then Jason's like, well, if you look at Google Earth, there's none right there. Funny. That's usually my parking spot, so I think what they're talking, yeah.
okay,
It looks like, someone looks like it's further than 10 feet though.
Yeah, and if you read the statute actually says you can't park within 50 feet of a stop sign. Which would mean you'd have to paint all the way back past this driveway.
I've never seen a car parked there. I live right
It's
here.
so funny that this is.
Yeah,
This,
they're there at like middle morning, and when they get really close to it, you think someone's there, so I've actually just sat there and, oh, there's nobody in the car.
see, I've had that when I've sat here to monitor the stop signs, people pull
Yeah.
in behind me thinking I'm waiting, I always have to
That happens to me on Middleton Road, yeah, right by
pull
Timberwolf.
my hand out and just wave them on, because they think I'm sitting there waiting to go as well.
okay, let's keep them separate, then
Yeah.
second, the later one will focus more on the striping thing. Okay, so we need a motion on 6.
Okay, so I wrote some notes. I'll do the motion then real quick, unless anyone else wants to. I've done all of them. I move that we respond to the citizens, letting them know that the police department is aware and will continue to monitor and enforce that intersection. We ask the department to put a speed trailer on Sunset. We take no action regarding the flashing sign because they're found to be ineffective. And then we can go ahead and close this request. 006.
Second.
Discussions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so report as 007, same intersection, but we were talking about the parking.
So we talked about this a couple meetings ago. If we're gonna paint the 10 feet leading up to one stop sign in the city, we're gonna do all of them. So why does this one warrant anything special? I would be fine saying that we take no action. You know, the first half of the first form, we just addressed with 006, and there's no reason to paint the curve for their second half of their response. Kind of what I'm leaning towards, what I'm feeling.
I was confused by what the curve there.
I think my assumption is the other side of Pinehurst here is already painted.
Oh, yeah, there is.
So they want the other side painted too. So this is like, it's like 3 car lengths or so on either side, all the way up to Heatherwood. Between Heatherwood and Sunset here. So I think they want it done on the other side of the.
And there's paint on the Woodhaven side. I know that, I've seen that before there. The other side behind us.
Yeah.
Looking towards the park.
Yes, both sides of Pine.
No, yeah, on the other side of Sunset, the north side of Sunset, on the park side, that's painted. It's just the side we're looking at with the white cars, the only of the three
Yes,
under sides.
yeah, so
Yellow on that right side already over there.
you're on Pinehurst on the north side of Sunset, next to the park, down to Heatherwood, it's painted yellow either side of the road. So I think they want the same thing done over here to prevent somebody from doing this leading up to the stop sign. I'm not sure when or how those curbs got painted. I don't know how long they've been painted, and I've been here for 9.5 years, and I'm pretty sure they've been painted the whole time I've been here, so it's just something that happened to just get done. And
How it park. Yeah, does the park make, special dispensation to put paint?
It's probably keep people from parking right there and using the park to keep the congestion out.
Yeah, a more heavily traveled route to the 99W2, who knows what the board is with Woodhaven Park perhaps, but on the other side, we were talking that it's possible, just if you want to go look on the step, is that south side? Yeah. Just that first on the right side, making that first from the driveway to the, if you look the other way, other side.
Right over here.
My left, yeah, right there. If that would be the only thing I could see, just doing a minor, no parking sign to the right, arrow. And having lived in a rental on Gilwood right behind here, this gets fully parked on and you can't, there's not enough room. You pull off Sunset and you have to stop and then have the person over here let you go all the way down to get through. So 1 out of 100 or 200 times it's an issue, so. But what would help that situation would just that first spot, if there was no parking there, you'd always have that refuge for someone to pull into and sit, and it would eliminate.
Using a no parking from.
Yeah, the first driveway.
intersection
Yeah,
to this first driveway.
Yep. That's the only thing I could see here. And even then, that would be like a recommendation from you guys, but no painting of curbs. So that's our public works folks will probably have that, the city council mandate that they do painting of curbs because it just fades off and then they're out there putting down more paint. But you guys don't have any accident data that's, above the $500 threshold that would never gets reported anyway. So I don't even think there's any metrics to support just me saying, stop, no parking there, even though that might work. I can't just go around town going, putting up stuff that I think is a good idea without having reasons for doing it. That might be an adequate response for this person is, hey, this is the only thing we think we could possibly do, but even then there's no metrics for it. So the committee made a motion to not address this. So submit a new complaint or something. Because past this point, it gets into the whole Woodhaven on both sides issue that is just that's more of a citywide sort of a standard that needs to be kind of decided on because like you said, parking on both sides slows people down.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, maybe they're not supposed to be there and it can be an enforcement thing, or if they are there, it makes people slow down. I think about, not to bring back up Aldergrove and Sunset again, but I drive it a lot, and it has those curb extensions, which are kind of like 2 cars parked on each side, and when you pull in off of Sunset onto Aldergrove, it's really tight. And sometimes you just have to slow down to a crawl just to make sure you're not running over the curb and hitting the car. And sometimes I'm annoyed by that, but other times I'm like, well, whatever. I mean, I guess it slows me down. And I had to stop anyways at that stop sign. So
Yeah, I think you pay attention. Not hit the.
I don't know.
The tire over.
It's a slight inconvenience. I don't know if you're not seeing accidents. I don't really feel strongly about recommending anything or signs on this one.
I think is there no reason why we just can't start with some enforcement, just I know you're down there and you don't see it, but we can keep an eye on it because it says ticket violators. We can ticket them without the yellow curb in back there.
I mean, this car right here could be ticketed if we chose to because under state statute, you're not supposed to park within 50 feet of something anyway, so you post it or not, that's just, it's part of.
It's probably also, if someone's doing it, it's probably a regular person that's using the park or lives nearby, so you probably could even just tell them that they're not.
Yeah, and I would, if I were enforcing it, I would start by finding out where they live. They live in the neighborhood, at the park, and then just having a conversation, just saying, like, I really don't want to give you a ticket, but legally not supposed to park here.
Yeah, pretty much that is the only car I've seen there, and it's about 3 hours, 9 to noon, so.
Maybe babysitter.
Yeah, it could be something like that. That's what I thought it was. I'm watching kids.
Okay. We'll keep your straight going right there.
So you want to take no action? We want to take an action on the first half of the request, and, there's nothing that warrants a payment first, so. For the time being, we're just gonna ask that this Farmington first.
Force and educate, yeah.
Yeah.
And just for clarification, so on, the front page of 007, we're not, there's no action being taken, right? This is all in recommendation for the back half.
Yeah, like for the front half, it's gonna kind of be C006.
Okay.
It's really gonna address three, request 006. But for the second half. Is that how we're gonna handle that?
So just for edification here, I just wrote Sabrina, so 2024-007, I told her to mark that as A, then flip it, and that's B, so that we can separate it and people know that there's only action being taken on 007B.
Not to be more complicated. If it is more complicated, let me know, but can we call it 6.1 like we did the other?
One,
Oh, you want 2.1?
Not.
that's how they.
That's fine. I was gonna be point three for the.
The alphabet, I don't forget that.
No, I don't care about the letter. I was just saying tie it to 06.
No, that's totally.
Oh, you're saying 07A should be 06.1.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the other one should be standalone 007.
Oh, 70, okay.
Where to go? Great.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
yeah,
Thinking about that.
get rid of the B. Let's go with that.
We want to name the first one point one, then we start calling it.
Yeah.
When something gets 0.0 to.
Yeah.
But I get older.
Some of our second.
Like nothing.
Yeah.
Okay, if you need a second on 7.
That was way back there, we've gone.
Second. Any discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now we got, 34008. Request for speed bump, speed limit signs, or yield sign at Cinnamon Hills Madrone intersection.
So I read that initially, or I read the summary, the one sentence, and said, that's kind of weird. That's not a high traffic area. Then I read the request form and it says that people use that to kind of cut around Archer Glen. Is that accurate? Is that pretty?
Charter school.
The charter school, yeah. So it's because they're trying to avoid the Main Street Sunset intersection that they're cutting.
I'm gonna have
I didn't know it was there until the complaint came in, and then I was like, I didn't know this cut
When
through
the
was
school
here.
gets out at the charter school, traffic totally comes to a stop on Main Street because
Oh.
there's people trying to turn left into the charter school parking lot. Like if you were heading towards Sunset, because there's only so much room for cars in the pickup line there. And so it backs up traffic. Same thing with coming from Sunset and people trying to turn right into the parking lot. Backs up traffic because they can't get into the parking lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Try to avoid that intersection.
All day long.
Yes.
I haven't, since this just came in summertime, I haven't had a chance to sit there and monitor myself, so I'm not to wait till school gets started, but it makes total sense that people would
Yeah.
avoid this and just cut up Madrona back, Cinnamon Hills back to Sunset.
So, and the way I read this is it made it sound like they're coming down Sunset, turning right on Cinnamon Hill and turning left on Madrona, and that's where they want the yield is the left turn. Did I read that right? The left turn on to Madrona?
Choose just what the yield sign.
There is a yield sign going from Madrona onto Cinnamon Hill. There's already a yield sign there,
I don't,
so I don't know where else you would,
It sounded to me like turning left onto Madrona, they wanted some sort of, like people are trying to get into Old Town, so they're hitting Cinnamon Hill and turning left really fast is kind of how I hear.
there's a yield coming up Madrona to turn right on the Cinnamon Hills. But then go back this way a little bit, and turn around. Coming down Cinnamon Hills to turn left onto Madrona. Yeah.
You gotta give the right of way anyways.
It was because of the
Which,
picture,
we're talking
their
like-
arrows on the map, and I go, aha, that's what they're talking about.
It's not a high traffic.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not the ones speeding out of their own house to cause an accident.
No, we know.
What do you guys think about just taking this one until after school starts and letting you guys take a look at it?
I'd like to sit there and watch it when school starts, cause
Yeah,
I wasn't aware of this last school year, but
And it's back to the stopping on Main Street issue too, because it's really, that's the issue is. I mean, I would just keep driving by and just walk, get out and walk back from the art center with my kid. And do it the polite way, but folks don't do it that way anymore.
Are there no speed signs on either one of those streets? That's what this is insinuating.
no.
Okay.
Which is the case, I think, for most of our local.
Obviously,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's again, if you do one, then you gotta do every street in Sherwood.
and I generally don't like speed, I mean, we don't need speed bumps, right? I don't like speed humps. But this is one type of street and scenario where they could make sense. If you find that there is a issue of people speeding through there to cut through. I think it's worth looking at, but
Video cameras. that can collect-
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
We can revisit this in October's meeting, maybe after we have some data, maybe in September.
So, the other Jason, do we have a traffic calming program? Like,
So the toolbox in the TSP that has like 4 or 5 things that you can do, speed cushions, not the full humps. And I think Bob even got the chicane thing from Europe where I don't know if I would support.
so let's just say from Chris's observation and this request, that there is like a need because they're utilizing as a through traffic, right? Is it this committee that would recommend the bumps or the traffic calming?
well, what little authority we have, we would provide a recommendation of.
Okay. And then you would have to find the funding and all that.
Yes. That goes back to, what Jason said at the start of this thing, got prioritized.
Okay, because I know
Speed cushions
like
are really
Washington
similar to
County
that.
has a neighborhood calming program. Like someone manages that program where like all these citizens would say, hey, we want you to put speed bumps in our neighborhood, and they would do the analysis.
It's helpful to encourage the folks that are gonna submit the complaints to research those programs, because then it gives them ammo or, supporting evidence of, hey, in Washington County, if the ADT is over 5,000 or whatever, or peak hour this, they will recommend it, something, so that at least supports their case without having to rely on us, who are all busy, and it's more of a favor or, extra work to stay after and do that, it could help us.
Yeah.
During the school.
Well, I've been lost with what we were given at the beginning, but there was a packet of traffic calming things, and I feel like it has general guidelines for using it and stuff. Okay, so, you got it? Yeah. Wow. Still have
I think that's part of the traffic safety committee now, right? Adopted or something, isn't it?
We did have, do you remember doing that?
Yeah.
So regardless, we don't have enough information to take any action, so we can just keep this pending and address it at a future meeting.
We also got Dewey coming up too. Dewey.
just keep it open.
Yeah.
Isn't that what oh, that's not an
Information.
So Chris, is this on your, to look out?
Yeah.
When school starts, maybe?
Next week, I have any we had a.
Yeah, because this is another good place that we can use our speed trailer, because it not only collects speed, but it collects the number of vehicles.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can,
That's similar.
I don't personally know how to, do it, but I know you can graph and look at all the data that you collect from it.
These guys, or some traffic engineers.
Is that-
I'm just saying this is another good location where we can place our radar trailer, because it'll collect data for number of vehicles and speeds and
Oh, yeah.
We're only having a trailer.
Would be good.
only one working right now. We have two, but the other one we're having some issues with that we're working with the company to get fixed.
And Tanya, maybe that's something you could bring up to leadership or Craig too, is how do we who makes the motions to buy this? Craig was mentioning he's interested in potentially getting some more like speed feedback signs that can go on poles and putting those in various places around town of, he could probably just do it, but does the committee need to recommend buying 4 of those or he'll probably just do it? And I don't know.
No, we've had that conversation. So there's a company out there that, yeah, we can literally go and put them all over the city on just city-owned posts.
Is it TAPCO? Because they have
No, it's all traffic solutions, I think is.
Okay.
I've
Might be their
not met a vendor, but it can grab all that data, speed and all the things we need.
But it doesn't need a recommendation from this committee.
I think Craig wants to get them anyway, so all this.
I want so much more
Yeah,
use
we all
than
want.
that trailer.
Yeah.
Trailer meeting, they're gonna take up space.
So it'd be great. We can like put them on Dewey and stuff. other
Yeah,
places.
and we can continue to move them around because I think, as we know, people get used to it and then they don't care anymore.
Is there a local, I think we had a local rep from Sherwood that might work for them. Which always helps.
All traffic solutions.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the vendor.
Sounds vaguely familiar.
I think he lives over by Sunset Park. And I'll reach out. Yeah,
Yeah, I think so.
I'll follow up on that.
So we're gonna postpone that one. 10? No,
9.
9. Request for 3-way stop at Pine Railroad intersection.
From the library, basically, like.
Yes.
Go where the rapid flashing.
Yeah, I don't know if we did a resolution to get rid of those, but the issue was the school buses, when we did have the 3-way stop signs, I think may have been 4 or 2 certain times, the school buses stopped at the stop sign. And then they stopped at the railroad tracks and they came to the stop sign and had to stop and have their bus across the road, and they're not allowed to do that. So that was a city manager decision back then with Rob Schultz was here to have it be through movement, and the traffic engineer, our DCAS looked at it, and that was, there's pretty bulletproof reasons for not having it be a 3-way stop. So I would not put a stop sign on either of these. I don't even think you can do it. Technically.
That's a pretty scary, little intersection. I mean, you're driving, on railroad and you want to take a left and you have the cars going, down Pine. And you would think you see the white stripes pedestrian crossing, you would think that vehicles would stop there because it's so congested, and they don't. A 3-way stop there, I heard what you said, but, yeah, it doesn't make sense.
It's tough with the railroad.
Definitely. There's other options too. The 20-mile-per-hour district is an option to slow people down. I don't know if the TSP update project's gonna look, Tualatin excluded their downtown area from their TSP update because the traffic stuff was so unique. There's been discussions of one-way couplets and things like that in other areas where you can eliminate some of those turning movements and make it safer for that, but it's like way bigger. It's a lot of variables involved with that for kind of I think the 20-mile-per-hour thing is a legitimate discussion for Old Town.
I bet you if you check the speeds in there, I bet you people are going 20 or less right now.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
People, and there's way too much going on to go any faster.
Yeah.
The other challenge is enforcement. I mean, we can ask them to go 10, but there's no way we're gonna get in there to.
Or bicycles you're gonna have issues with in that area then. I mean, I agree that it's It feels, I mean, we got the same issue over here at Railroad and Maine too. I don't know if you guys have any data for accidents or anything. It feels scary, but I've never gotten even close to it.
The only crashes I've ever taken are people sideswiping this.
Boom and boom.
Yeah, that's it.
Straight into the building.
People trying to make this turn and they hit this. I've never taken a vehicle on vehicle collision here.
At, Railroad, right when it hits Pine, the stop sign underneath it has an orange sign underneath that says cross traffic does not stop. So people coming that way should be aware. I know you're saying like visually, the white line makes you think they're stopping. But, you know, the due diligence has been done to warn the driver.
We eliminated parking in the first two parking spaces where you have the ballers at an angle. Each of the spots, even at Railroad and Maine, so. I mean, I like the 20-mile-per-hour district idea, but you know, I'm not part of our elected body, you know, I don't think there's a whole lot we have to do to change that, but. I know that some haven't liked that in the past, but that, again, it's not really gonna do anything though, because everybody drives 10 to 15 miles per hour. Bikes drive faster through here than cars. Cause they can, you know, they don't hit as much stuff and they're smaller and they're able to do that, so. But even up the restaurant at Second, I think the First and Main is actually harder to navigate now with the restaurant there. Because so many people are walking across the Veterans Park. So I have a harder time now getting for First and Main Street next to the restaurant there than I do at Railroad and in Maine.
Okay, so in the interest of time, I'm trying to focus on this particular issue, which they want a three-way stop, which it's not possible to be done because of the railroad. Are we okay with a response that way?
I think so.
Have a motion for that, close it.
So we're saying that nothing can be done here. It is what it is.
Because of the railroad.
So I'll move that we close this request and respond to the citizens that this intersection has already been evaluated and cannot be, stop sign cannot be added due to the proximity to the railroad.
Second.
And just, I guess, to clarify your last statement. Not that nothing can't be done, but regarding the addition of the stop sign, nothing can be done for that. Other things can be done to maybe improve safety there, but we're just trying to focus on what the request.
Yeah, adding a stop sign is not an option due to the proximity of them.
Even though common sense says, stop sign would be good.
Common sense says it until the bus stops on it and gets hit by it.
Yeah, because I mean, your common sense stop sign spot's gonna be on the north or the city hall side of the railroad tracks. So you're there and you can see, but then that requires the school bus to hang out over the railroad tracks. And even though it's not a used railroad line, the school district doesn't allow their buses to stop on railroad tracks. So then we tried pushing that stop sign back on the other side of the railroad tracks, but now it's pointless because everybody sees you so far away, and I don't even think that meets the standards for installation of a stop sign at an intersection. So I don't think we had a resolution for this potentially, but there may even be a city council resolution that said get rid of the three-way stop. But I know it was school district, school buses, and it was pretty well evaluated just with the railroad tracks was the reason. And that was the sticking point, was the buses stopping. They couldn't do it.
Any other questions or you have on that one or comments?
No, I've been beaten down.
No, you're fine.
No, it makes sense. I mean, from driving a car's perspective, it makes total sense to stop. It makes it a bit safer for a passenger vehicle.
You can modify the motion too, if you want more looking into it or something.
No, that would be more work from.
Makes sense. School bus stopping at railroad, even though it's not used. Yeah, I'll buy that.
So Tim seconded, we should
Okay,
vote.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And. Reflector flashing lights at crosswalk on. Terrapin?
Terrapin is this little. There's the condos on one side and then there's 9-ish houses. On the other side. And
Where's Trailblazers?
Down there.
Down there.
Trailblazers further
This is
down.
like identical to the.
Trailblazers right here.
The closest crosswalk is Borchers then, right here, right?
What's the extent of the county project that's gonna improve?
Or, you know, median turn lane, so,
From where to where?
Borchers all the way down,
Yeah, the
Oh,
sidewalk.
this will get
Yeah.
improved with that.
bike lanes, all that stuff in here, yeah.
Okay, seems like maybe that's a pretty simple solution there.
There will be, I guarantee, a at-grade crossing with, push buttons for the regional Trailblazer for sure.
So there's a project that's funded that will provide pedestrian improvements along here.
But not,
Not necessarily a crosswalk right there, but.
Their
There will be,
I
no
think the
about it.
crosswalk request is
Yeah.
because there's no sidewalk on either side of their. Looks
Say
like
people-
left or, if you wanna go left or right, there's no sidewalk.
Yeah,
All the sidewalks on the other side of the Edie, I think.
I think you catch a sidewalk on the right there. That's where
That
it's
development
development.
that's
Over
making trips.
here.
This little,
You gotta get across to it. And I can't remember.
something has to go in here, right? I mean.
Like if you wanted to go from that neighborhood to the school, you would cross
You'd
and
have
then
to
go
cross to
down.
catch the
So when the
sidewalk.
project comes through, you'll be able to stay on that side of the street to the school.
Yeah, so here's looking from Borchard down, sidewalk stops at Terrapin. It actually continues down. This side stops right here at Terrapin. And then, so you have to cross over and then go down this side of the.
So the county's project, I think, is cost estimate was like 18 million. As part of that project, they're gonna do a study of maybe needs for these sorts of enhancements, and then potentially push button on 4 locations. They'll look at like cross slopes, all these factors, and then we'll definitely fill in the gaps where there'll be enhancements to get across the street. Probably 4 RFPs, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it is.
Because there's no sidewalk on that side.
And there's gonna be sidewalks that run the whole length. I remember
Yep,
talking.
and there'll be a regional trail across right where the car is down there. Already, so there's some rules of thumbs up. If you don't wanna have a flashing beacon, you know, we'll have the regional trail there, but you don't wanna have like 50 of them. You wanna have probably 4 of them, all the way up to Borchers and then the signal at Borchers, and I could be wrong, it could be 3.
so
But-
when is the capital improvement happening?
Not sure, because it's in the mistip. I think the mayor really wants to get that pushed up to start tomorrow, so ASAP, we would like to get it to the top of the mistip list. I think we have to get creative. Maybe we'll take over jurisdiction of this if we do it early is kind of my idea. But mayor wants to get it done ASAP is kind of, but I don't know if that's 5 years from now or not. It's a big, huge project.
Threshold why it ended up in the misstep list was because of the deaths of the 2
Yep.
of the accident. So,
There's a huge need there. There's no
right,
denying
no,
it.
I'm just saying that it will ultimately get resolved.
Yeah,
And
and it's funded. I mean, it's more than we can say for a lot of.
Oh, yeah.
Requests or, so.
And with push button enhancements, you know, at least regional trail somewhere between Borchers and the regional trail and then all the way up to the school.
Okay,
There push
we
button
can get a motion on that.
at the school. Yes, it's not there.
I wanna say
Now it's straight.
yes, but
I don't think there is.
I'm trying to remember if there was. I don't,
Not yet.
Cause I run across it pretty quickly.
yeah, no, there's not. For some reason I thought there was.
I think less is more personally. If there's nothing there, you cross safer. But when you're with a big family with more than 5 people, it's like you can't herd everybody in, so. I didn't know that.
So I move that we close this as it's already being addressed as part of a bigger long-term improvement to the road.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're on 11. Request for painted center line on Brookman Road between White Oak Terrace and Robin Hood Place.
That's reasonable until you look at the picture, and I don't think there's enough room for 2 lanes. It's such a narrow.
Well, Brooklyn Road is a county.
County road, there's a lot of reasons to.
It just
Yeah.
changed hands, didn't it?
Old County, and it's gonna remain counties for, I think, a long time until it gets improved, and it's gonna cost a lot of money to do it, so.
Okay.
All the interior roadways that are within Middlebrook subdivision.
Yeah,
and all
those are-
those are all local roads that are owned.
You have
by
to
the
drive
city.
Brookman to get there.
But Brookman is a county right away.
So there is a MUTCD threshold for like average daily traffic. That you have to put in a center lane stripe. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I think it's like 6,000 or something like that. I don't think this road meets that. But again, it's a county road, so we need to, you guys wanna, I can reach out to county and ask them about the ADT and just get an answer of, hey, it doesn't meet the threshold. And then that's the response. Can't do anything. There's nothing along Brooklyn stripe at all, and we do not want to go have somebody try to stripe it, because then it's just gonna be a nightmare of probably be worse off.
Yeah.
Driving, a yellow line into over a blind hill. Yeah, I don't. Surprised nobody's requested speed change on. Brooklyn.
Sorry, I thought that there's a annexation. I don't know, we talk on the flight.
There's a fog line that causes some confusion when I drive it, that in one section, there's a fog line that looks like it might be a center line.
Yes.
So it's on the side of the road where you just end up, but you're driving in the shoulder, so it doesn't become an issue. The oncoming traffic, although I think that's kind of what they're getting at in this, is that fog line's kind of.
Right, and it doesn't help too that this is piecemeal development,
Just-
right? That there's right of way dedication along here. And then there's a whole creek that hasn't been dedicated or improved, and then a couple of parcels down, there's some right of way improvements. So it's,
It's getting set by the development at different like elevations that we're gonna have to.
so are you gonna, Jason, are you gonna follow up with the county to see if there could be some type of center line at the places that have been improved?
We have to have the threshold for the
Well,
traffic
in
volume.
mine, I mean, with 145 units here and then another 30 over,
Close. I don't think it's there, but. That could, then they'd have to stripe it if it was over the 6,000. So I can just, if you guys want, I can ask them and then next month report back what they said. And they said, we don't know. We can go set our tubes up there and do extrapolate the averages and see what we can do. But I mean, Brookman's a whole slew of issues that that's gonna be a primary focus for the TSP updates, kind of to figure out what everybody's been talking about forever, this Brooklyn Road improvements that through wetlands.
Yes, I think, see if you could find out
Yeah.
what the county's thinking before we do anything. It seems reasonable.
So we'll just push this one off.
So they need it. Yeah, I think so.
we can.
If that fog line wasn't there, that white line, I would say probably don't worry about it. But
Wow,
that's
I
interesting.
didn't think we were gonna get through all these. Request for crosswalk from pathway on Southwest Sunset Boulevard next to Richen. Richen?
Right next to the rental.
So it's this pathway right here from Galewood. It looks like it's a path over to this, but this is just a maintenance access road right next to Woodhaven Park.
I came up with a way better idea than.
I liked your idea.
The barricade was a good idea, but I was driving by thinking, let's get the committee to recommend shrubs. And we'll just put some, 4-foot tall shrubs through there.
On the south side.
Yeah, on the south side, and that just should take care of it and not have to have a crosswalk closed sign, which still isn't the proper application because there's no crosswalk there. But it still provides the required barrier and it's visually pleasing and it kind of just gets the message across that this is a maintenance access and it's not a crosswalk and cross at your own risk. And people will still probably cross. I used to jump when I lived in the rental there on Gilwood, I would ride my mountain bike and jump the curb and take a risk on my own. I knew what I was doing, but the shrub, the plants, I think, kind of protect the city
I like that.
from risks. And we can do that with maintenance guys or seasonals and go.
And where do people cross right now?
It's just
They just walk
people
straight
like
across.
walkers that are out for their afternoon walk. They just cross from Galewood right here across this little access. Sidewalk goes back up to the intersection at Pinehurst, but people just will
It
cross.
looks like a crosswalk. Yeah.
They got the access road and the trail here that are right across the street from each other, so.
But they should be walking down to Pinehurst and crossing out.
Or even down to, well, I don't know if we have a true crosswalk at Richmond Park Terrace, but still be safer to park
The
there.
proper way to do that is Richard's point is you just walk down, cross, and then now you have access to the park and the trails, everything over here.
That would be, I think that's an approved treatment too. I don't know about the new MUTCD that came out. But before it was landscaping that rises above the ground over 2.5 feet would be sufficient barrier for in lieu of a like crosswalk closed barricade. And there's nothing there. I mean, it just looks like it's a
Well, there's no legal,
crosswalk.
no cross,
Yeah.
you don't even need to do anything because by MUTCD.
We don't have to do that. It's just, it might help the put in $50 in plants the
Your
rear.
suggestion was put plants.
Yeah, just right here.
And whatever
Yeah,
there is.
and that drain.
So we wouldn't take out concrete path.
No, it's just drop in some,
Still access the sidewalk.
Yeah, it's just a barrier.
It's like a visual.
Yes, it's a visual barrier.
Yeah.
just let it grow up, but yeah, they could even be tiny boxwoods.
And that's just an.
Yeah, and
It's just a visual barrier.
It's just visually attractive to just, it looks like it. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, if you're.
It seems like a convenient spot. Even when I first lived at that place, I was like, I need to go talk to Bob. We need a crosswalk here. And this, after, over time, it's like, no, we don't need a crosswalk here. We need to put some shrubs up and call it good.
Because you said that's like an access road, it's not part of the trail systems. It doesn't connect to anything, just the.
No, there's a trail back there, but it's, the intent of that drop is for maintenance access vehicles to get back there.
And
So
what's
we could have a
wrong with
chain
just
there.
Putting signage there saying not a crosswalk, Go
I
to,
think technically you'd have to have the curb ramp on the other side too.
I think part of the problem too is it's not even a legal crosswalk. Because it's not an intersection.
Yeah, it's just a path for the community, the neighborhood, so that they have access to Sunset. But it doesn't give them legal right to cross at that intersection.
St. Charles is different because they happened to have like a drop off ramp down across from another ramp, which makes it an ORS. A parent crosswalk, so we were able to put the barricade up there. So really the shrubs are kind of like the only real legit option, or just let people complain and tell them it's not a crosswalk. But I agree, there's people that keep crossing there. And if there were some shrubs up, my kids and I would have walked up to the park. And if someone did get hit, I would be like, oh, we should have put
Well,
shrubs.
but it's not even a legal access. I mean, it's not even a legal crosswalk.
so how did it get there?
No, it's not.
There is no.
There's nothing there.
There's no curb cut.
Yeah.
This has never been a crosswalk.
Imagine the grass being unmained. That's another option. In Tarleton, they've been using grasses and stuff that grow up and they just create a visual barrier that just doesn't.
There's a path that leads to the neighborhood. But to go across Sunset, it's not supposed to be a legal access.
It's like an attractive nuisance on the other side of it. You
It
shouldn't.
tricks you into thinking.
Yeah, exactly.
It is just because of
But it's
the,
not.
It's not.
Like your friend sitting across the street going, cross here?
The access road line up perfectly for people to assume that it's a crossing. But it's not.
So what's it take to make it a legal crossing?
So we'd have to put a ADA ramp, we'd have to put in the continental bars. I mean, we're talking 50 grand. At
So
least.
does the burn traffic, warrant something like that? Do we know?
No,
No,
not at all.
No,
Block crossings are like, we don't want those if we don't have to put them in.
so what does it take for the city to put shrubs down?
Potentially nothing.
Is that just city manager approval or?
If we had a landscape architect, I'd probably have to run it through them, but right now we'd probably let our Trey or somebody pick out arborvitae. That's probably not the best
And it's,
thing, but
and it is city right of way.
that's the other thing. It might be the HOA, but I think the HOA stops somewhere around here. So that's the other thing. I just have to notify the HOA that we're putting some shrubs in perhaps, but I can ask. I don't know the answer of, I don't have the pay grade to do whatever I want here, the city, but I can ask.
Because that makes a major threshold on who maintains it, who has ownership in regards to allowing us to plant stuff. And then there's the maintenance aspect of it.
Yeah, we'd probably propose the
If
mulch
it's
shed.
all
Less maintenance.
city owned, it would be city.
I mean, am I wrong in
Less maintenance.
that this up to here is city owned, correct?
Not along this stretch of the Sunset. That was the thing with the Woodhaven HOA, still maintains the boulevard side and the backside of it. But I don't know if it goes past Pinehurst.
Gotcha.
It kind of might stop literally, for our luck, it'll stop like right at this path or something, but even then, I think we can pitch it of remove the sod, put mulch down, put shrubs, and now that's kind of an area that their landscaper has to maintain.
I mean, if that's what
Or nothing.
folks want to do, that's fine. I'd say
Yeah.
grass and a full curb. It's pretty much not a crosswalk. If you want to cross it, you can. It's just not a crosswalk.
I think you're better to stay silent on it.
I would just leave it how it is personally. I think a separate discussion on a different time could be that there's no crosswalk at the adjacent intersection, which actually is a crosswalk, but we don't need to go there tonight. I would just leave it. It's not like you got concrete up to the curb that makes it kind of feel like a crossing. There's a landscape strip already.
It ends right there. There's no.
No different driving, you come to an intersection, you get to go right or left.
Yeah,
That's what this is kind of.
I mean, one option would be to chain the maintenance access and put maintenance access sign on it at least.
Are there chains that go across there?
Not of this.
Sometimes, there have been, but I haven't seen
It
one there
looks
for
like it
years.
connects, maybe that's all maintenance access, but there's that path.
Yeah, there's stuff to get like a 5
There's
foot
like a
clear.
little hole here, but I haven't seen it.
You want to be
chained up.
But on the other side of the park, there's like that connects and like people probably walk that whole thing to walk the perimeter of the park.
On this access road.
Yeah, like if you go down there and you can.
Yeah, it is.
Back there.
This just comes out to the sidewalk on the other side of the park.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it maybe people walk it or something.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, people walk this access road.
Yeah.
We won't want the chain going all the way across the block, that I'd still want gaps in
I
it.
bring my son over to this park. I live over in Westland, but I bring him to this park all the time because he loves the Tonka tours. We walk that every time we're there, get our exercise. So it is a popular walking path, so to speak.
Okay.
I think from a risk
What do you
perspective,
guys
that's,
think?
I think probably the right agency, maybe on the flow card.
I agree with what you were saying as far as if there's gonna be a crosswalk, it's more appropriate at a different intersection. We're waiting for someone to bring that up to us. In the meantime, there's no reason to take any action on this because it's not a crosswalk.
Okay.
So yeah, move to close this with no action as that's not a designated crosswalk.
Second.
Any discussions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? In the interest of time, are there any brief updates on 230507 or 2401? Or if they're more extensive, maybe we can.
I don't know, we're good about. 823-005 got signs up. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to look at those, but this one is closed. I think somebody followed up with the residents there too, and they were satisfied with that.
Oh, so we can,
Yeah,
close this one.
there's I don't know if they got the sign from the traffic safety committee recommended a stack of yellow rectangular or triangle sign with a fire truck on it that had a pedestrian on it, and then I think a passenger vehicle, so seeing it all in a bicycle, pedestrian, and a public vehicle was stacked on it, and so, you know, shared use pathway kind of what the sign conveys, and that was really the only thing we said we could do. There's no paving projects planned there. There's no TSP projects planned there. There's no vehicle capacity. So.
Wait for us to close that out.
So if you guys need to check it out, that's fine, but I can guarantee you that the signs are up and the residents that submit complaints are satisfied with what we did.
Let's move to close 2023-005.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, any opposed? Okay. Anything on 23007?
I could, after we go over quickly to show you the GIS stuff, you can make a motion to delete it, knowing it's gonna be a dot in our system forever, so stuff like this can reside in our GIS system, doesn't need to show up in the meeting agenda every month. So no action on that right now.
And then 2401.
We'll keep that on here until next time. The notices have gone out. We actually got one letter back that said, thanks, this is long overdue, which was nice to get a nice letter from a resident, and no other responses or anything. So get those signs up here in probably 2 weeks.
Okay. All right, you want to take a couple minutes and show us the GIS now?
Yeah. I gotta make sure I can share my screen here. If I go about doing that. Hey, there I am. Have to share from the Zoom meeting here. I've never shared on Zoom.
Gotta make sure button on the bottom.
Yeah. There we go. All right. We are, so this is our little applet that we made while my mouse really moves slow in reaction, but anyway, so we can work on here because it's delayed. But we have all of the traffic safety committee case files kind of loaded in here. And I think I put some of them in from today. I haven't gone through and done a audit of this to make sure we're up to speed, up to date. I was just trying to get it working with staff, and it's probably a month outdated where we can get some case files in here, but they are all supposed to be in here. I can click on one dot and you'll see the whole history of this particular case file in here, 22001. And I think the idea is we're gonna even backlog the stuff that you guys have discussed in the past, so we have it here for a record. Like Smith Avenue, we got the no parking stuff in here.
Jason, is this gonna be available to the public?
I want to keep this item on here because I think that would be very helpful to be able to submit a complaint and then see it show up in here. I have to talk to our GIS folks in Public Works and figure out how to work that out. And then we've got attributes that we should discuss next time. I know Lisa Patterson was interested in how we want to categorize things, because once the speed limit's above 25, but again, higher incident, it's more accidents, it's kind of in the fatal zone. So how do we want to categorize and sort these things? And
this is available to the public.
not yet, but that's kind of the idea, is that we'll be able to populate once you submit a complaint, it will get logged into the system. This is an internal mapping system now, but you'll be able to see it. That's what I'd like to do, is at least get that available on the front to the public. I have to run that up the chain at the city, but obviously we want to be transparent. And where's your, if you submit a PDF file and email it in, it just, basically, we're just gonna show it, location. And then we really need the data for the TSP update, is where it helps us to have, 50 complaints for the same spot, helps with traffic signals and safety. So that's kind of what I want, is just all the backlog comments, and we just use that for the TSP update. But that should help you guys feel better about closing stuff out as well. And then we'll be able to show, like, active agenda items, 3 dots, and go over those, and we can kind of have the history there. So that should help with tracking and kind of memory and stuff. It'll all be in here. So we don't need to go in and look at it more in depth, but we can look at it a little bit more next time.
Or dots color coded, like open versus
Not yet, that's the
closed.
part I need to,
That's-
right now, I'm just putting a note in. I was gonna do that for the meeting, where you can search a code and pull up just the dots, but it needs to be, date submitted, what meeting we talked about, and then you can kind of sort it, basically active items, and then we'll just know we have like 3 or 4, 10, and then that kind of can give us a gauge of how many, outstanding issues we have going on. But pretty straightforward. I mean, submit a comment, make it spatial, put a dot on it, and you can attach files to it, and pretty much everything we have in our spreadsheet can go in here.
Or like the actual request form can be attached to the supporting document. Oh, that's cool. I like it.
Pretty handy. I was pleased with how easy it is to use, so we can just have staff log these once they come in. And I don't know how we want the intake process to go, because sometimes there's the comment that doesn't become an issue, but we can create dots as we go. I mean, each meeting we talk about something and then note it, and that's all we need. We talked about it, it becomes an item. So
That's great.
here's all the files up to about a month ago for, everything that you guys have worked on over the years, or not got my Zoom features, not perfect here, but
So who does the input? You?
anybody can do it. It's pretty straightforward. We had staff.
Who do it?
Sabrina could do it.
Something comes in.
Yeah.
Not to give
That's actually getting easier. Hopefully it's automated to where you enter the fields in your PDF. And then hit enter, and it probably could auto-populate and then be in there automatically without staff having to do anything. It's kind of the hope, but we'll see. I don't know how the website transition's going and everything. We can-
Well, it's good timing, in the new website. So if we can just drive everybody there, input whatever their issue is, and then it just auto-populates to here would be. I don't know if that's.
Acela is also an option too. When we did Acela training, that's the building permit software. It kind of does this complaints elevate to issues and puts it in a map, but we got this already set up. It's really easy to use, and it goes through Esri, and I think you just have to turn on some features to make it public facing. So the hope is that anybody that sends their item can go in there and see when it was closed out and kind of get the history of it and keep track it for us. So
Thoroughly.
Yeah, that's great.
that's gonna help a lot. And really for the TSP, it's great to have all this, stuff honed in one spot, 100 complaints about the same thing. Crosswalks, people kept submitting complaints about the Central or the spot by the park there. It at least shows there's some repeated complaints without having to have an actual accident like ODOT. They require some pretty hefty accidents before they go expend money on, enhancements. So
All right,
there we
well,
go.
let's keep it on the agenda for future meetings, and if you have more things you want input on.
The plan is just we can have this up to go through this hopefully at some point in time, but mostly Google Earth is very helpful for most of the discussions here. I think keep using Google Earth and Street View, and we'll get through it.
All right,
And then colors, we'll get color coding and make it so it's active projects. We can get fancy with it. It's just gonna be I think I'll call that black color, black dot. Yes. That's all I had.
thank you.
Very cool.
Okay, any committee comments? Could we get Richard to vote for most?
I move we end the meeting.
So just as a heads up, so thank you for your support letter. The city did apply for the construction loan, Safe Routes to School construction loan for the improvements on Timber and Sunset, the rapid flashing. So we requested $333,000. Us, as far as the local jurisdiction, required, excuse me, a local match of 38K. But Washington County Mississippi Opportunity Fund will be providing those funds for us if awarded.
Wow,
Yes, so,
so no money out of pocket?
correct. So we will actually know the outcome, they'll make a decision by the end of this year. Construction itself, if awarded, we're looking at, completion date of August of 2026. So that would, where we would start sloping May of next year, 2025. And that allows for all the work to get done. So once the school year ends in 2025, June 2025, we'll start construction and get it finalized before the start of the school year, if it's funded,
When do you find out if it's funded?
by the end of this year.
Okay.
So we will know for sure.
We attend meetings or we like the transfer OTC or what can we do as staff or even residents to help?
Well, you as a committee provided a support letter, so that was pretty awesome. I'm not quite sure if there's going to be public hearings in regards to it. I'll find out if there is a call for action as far as like if we should testify, like someone from the committee wants to testify during these hearings as they're picking and choosing. That's always great, but I don't know if that's going to be at that level, if we're going to get that out.
Is this, word this properly, is this, can this be publicly known? The reason I'm asking is, as traffic officer, when I get complaints of this intersection, can I tell people that this is in the works and what should I?
Yeah, let's see, we don't have like a dedicated website yet, because we figure we'll create some awareness once we actually get funding for it, and it's actually a requirement for the grant that there's some type of engagement.
Okay.
But if you ever have any questions in regards to the improvements, if someone comes to you, say, hey, we're really interested in what's happening, you can feel free to send them my way, and I can provide the details in regards to what we're currently doing.
Okay, I'm just thinking with school starting soon,
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm anticipating.
right.
QR code though? I was thinking that might be a good idea.
Well, so the other thing too is I know that Middleton Elementary has a new principal. So if she needs to get up to speed in regards to that also, that's why I wouldn't send her to or the inquiries to her yet, just because, she's fairly new to that school. So send them all to planning or very specifically to me, and we can definitely answer, or me or Jason. Because we were the ones that signed off on the actual grant application.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it's exciting. So at least we made it through the first part, and we submitted officially with a lot of support letters, even from YMCA. So, so which is, and from, of course, from the school district, and then we've got our local match funding from Washington County. So, which is even better because then we can use those resources for other things.
Great.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Thanks for updates. Okay, with that, we'll adjourn. Thank you.